Long time no see, but it is finally time for another episode of Stoic Lifting. Today's episode is gonna be about the concept of sunk cost fallacy. Sunk cost fallacy, I have some notes so that I can give you some correct information. Sunk cost fallacy is the concept where you stick to a decision because of all the time and effort you already spent on it or put into it. This doesn't have to be a monetary issue. It can be about the emotional cost or intellectual cost or just pure time spent on something. And this leads me to the quote of today, which I haven't been able to pinpoint to a specific person, but I found a blog in which the author summed this concept up as being: things will happen as they do, not as we expect. This boils down to what the Stoics call amor fati, which is basically translated into love your fate. It's about accepting and embracing your now and what life throws at you. In terms of the sunk cost fallacy, I recently had to make a tough decision. I had to resign from my position as a soccer coach due to it just not being something that made me happy the way that I had hoped it would. The decision, I think I've made the decision some months ago, but I kept trying to persuade myself into staying at least until the season was over, because now I've already spent so much time with these boys. I've gotten to know them, and for the last 6 months I have spent 2 times 1.5 hours with these boys every week. But why should my past activities and the time that I've spent on it decide whether or not I should continue if I just generally know within myself that I'm not happy in this? This is where the sunk cost fallacy comes into play, and this can apply to a lot of areas of life. I would say in some relationships, I have a friend who once talked to me about her relationship, and she said, but what if we, her boyfriend and her, end up separating? I would have spent so much time with him. It wouldn't make sense to separate because we've been together for so many years. And I'm like, why is that an argument to stay together, that you have already been together for so long time that the time aspect in itself becomes like the determinator of your future together? You shouldn't be together because you've been together for a long time. You should be together because you love each other and want to spend even more time together. I hope you get my point. This also can be employed to gym and working out. You have decided to pursue a goal. It could be you would like to run 10K, and you put so many hours into your training, you've been on so many runs, but at some point you start to realize, I freaking hate running. But you continue to run to get that 10K, but if you with yourself know that it's just gonna be pure misery from now on, why wouldn't you stop? You can't get the time back. You can't get the money back that you've spent on a ticket to see a show that you 30 minutes into it realize, shit, you can't go out and say, oh, I would like my money back. No, because the cost has sunk, the time has been spent, the money has been spent. My 6 months on a soccer field has been spent. So my past shouldn't influence my decisions about my future. Of course, you should always take some experience with you, and sometimes it does make sense to like push through adversity and withstand some inner conflicts, but you shouldn't just stay in something because you've already spent so much time on it. This also applies to, let's say, science. Some people, they spend so many years doing research into like very specific topics and coming to a certain conclusion, but then suddenly a new type of scientific evidence emerges, which just turns their whole view of life around. And that puts them in a very difficult position, because should they hold on to the conclusion that they have drawn from so many years of work, or should they let it go and accept that there is just another truth that was more real, or there was just some evidence like contradicting what they had been working on? I think some people are too proud to let go and admit that things and times have changed and that a new reality is more important. I think especially like in business, that you can be too proud of your project to let it go, even though it kind of have outlived itself, if that makes sense. But I think true humbleness and like the willingness to admit that you were wrong, or that something has reached its end, I think that will bring more happiness with it. Because if you stay in something even though you should have resigned from it, you will just be increasingly more miserable. You'll be sad, and you'll have like this inner conflict within you, because you know with yourself that this has to end, but you can't let it go because you've spent so much time on it. I think I've made my point now. I've given you a lot of examples. So Stoic lifting today is about amor fati. Love your fate. Love the way that life evolves. Love that you've spent time on something, and now, because of the way things have turned out, you get to spend time on something else. That's what I'm gonna focus on. That I've had some great times on the soccer field, but that was just not for me, and it's okay. Sometimes you try something out and it doesn't work out, and it's okay. It's better to take the experience with you and learn from it than stay in it for too long until it just destroys you. That was it for today's Stoic lifting. I'll talk to you next time.